I guess we'll get started. This is going to be a different kind of presentation. I'm going to try to make it more live and maybe a little more interactive. They're not going to have a camera over here because there's nothing to see other than my mug and so I'm just going to show the slideshow and I'm going to show some other live stuff. I couldn't quite set up the way I wanted, but it's good enough for what we're attempting to do here. And the purpose of this is the club, well, in 2020, approaching field day with COVID and all that, we shut down everything. And the big question came up, one part of it, the big question came up was, can we work field day remotely from the clubhouse, that kind of thing. And after digging through the rules, no, we can't, but it still got us going on the concept of having a remote system. And also, another kind of side part of this is I remember hearing Larry Westmoreland just, commenting like monthly that we had this radio room and antennas and stuff, and nobody ever uses it. So it kind of part of that too. It's a way to, get a little more utilization out of the system, and maybe it'll open up for some folks that don't want to come in and use it on just Thursday night because it's available 24/7. But it's kind of it's one of those things until you get some momentum on how to use it and what's involved. You kind of like, well, maybe it's not that important. So I'm kind of just going to go through how it all works and kind of just step through a day in the life. But let me begin with a little bit of background. So specifically, I'm talking about HF, and I'm talking about the radios and antennas we have. We got the FlexRadio, they got the Yaesu 1000 and the 857. The Flex and the 857 we can use, they have CAT capabilities, so you can use that remotely. This one, the 1000, does not. And it's such a classic piece, you really don't want to tear it up by trying to use it remotely. So our remote system involves the Flex and the 857. Antenna so far, we have two antennas, the long wire, I guess 40 to 20 meters. Is that right, Bud?
It's 80 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters, 17 meters, 15 meters, and 10 meters.
Okay. And the beam is only 20 and 10 and a couple of the sub frequencies and not 30. So that's our two antennas. So two radios and two antennas. So I kind of talked a little bit about why the remote system. So I'm going to go a little bit more into what it takes for us to do this, the hardware, software involved, and then how you use it. That's the hands-on, like a better term, where I demo a day in the life. So this is specifically the hardware we're using in the remote system. So I mentioned what just the HF setup was. It's a couple antennas, a couple radios. Well, here's what's involved to do remote. So the FlexRadio can have two simultaneous users if you are able to use the SmartSDR software. We have the 857. We have green hair and rotor controller, although right now, this month, the rotor itself is down, but we have the capability to remotely spin the rotor. The two antennas to choose from. To do part of the server part, we have two, essentially they're PCs, they're just little PCs. And we have two Raspberry Pi computers. One does all the scheduling stuff, turns stuff off and on, that kind of thing. One strictly runs a software called Node-RED, which is the interface to the rotor controller, which allows remote turning of the rotor. And we got some Arduinos and other pieces and parts. And we have some relays for power control and antenna switching. And we have software on a remote server outside the clubhouse that's set up by Randy Thompson that does the actual interface to the scheduling. And the output of the scheduling is handled by the Raspberry Pi in the clubhouse. Software-wise, so we have the scheduling system, and I'll kind of show what your part of that would be. We've got a controller, that's some software on a Pi written by Mark Colleross. As a side part of that, we can actually monitor what's going on. Anybody can remotely. SmartSDR is a software that specifically uses the Flex's high-end capabilities. RCForb runs on both the Flex and the 857 to do a little easier interface to the radios. The Node-RED software I talked about, and you have to worry about what that is. And I can't demo it right now anyway. And with a VPN, that kind of ties into Node-RED. That's a secure channel to get in to use the Node-RED, because that kind of a problem with all this is how do we secure it? I'm not going to cover that, but just realize that's part of the situation. So that's for how this whole system works. So now let's get back down to what you need. For the FlexRadio, it has a lot of eye candy. If you haven't seen it, there's a demo I did back during the lockdown in 2020. It's on the club YouTube page. You can kind of see how that works. But the radio has a lot of opportunities to do stuff, a lot of capabilities, but it's easy to get lost in. So the club policy is, if you want to use the SmartSDR software, you got to get some time, some hands-on time. I guess we can do remotely or in the clubhouse, where so you can understand how to use the software, because you can easily get frustrated because it doesn't work, and it's only because some button wasn't pushed. I mean, for example, there's 3 different things you can push to make the speakers turn on and off, and it can be frustrating. So for using the SmartSDR with the FlexRadio, we want to just get people to have a good time with it. So we want to keep people some hands-on training, which leads us to RCForb, which is written by some hams, and it's located on the website remotehams.com. And what that gives you, we're using a small part of it, but it allows you to access any radio that's, I'll say any radio, hundreds of radios all around the world that are online and accessible to this software. So you can just tune in and listen to a bunch of different radios. And if you contact some owners, you're going to get transmit capabilities. Our club system is not on their directory, so we don't show up. Ours is private, but we're using the software to access it. And that's within the guidelines of the software itself. The other parts you will use is the club website. And pretty much we're trying to make that a one-stop shop to find everything. So you go, how do I do this? It's going to be a club website somewhere. And like I said, for advanced users, well, a VPN to use the rotor controller. The only way to use the rotor controller to spin the rotor will be to use this VPN through Node-RED. So again, that's an advanced thing. But if you were to schedule some antenna time, you said, hey, I need it pointed at due west or something, we'd be able to do that remotely. Like I said, right now the rotor's down, but when it's not down, we'd be able to do it remotely. Even if you didn't want to use this software, you could just ask us and we could spin it for you. So I'm going to kind of go through this. For the club member, how you use it, you go to the club website, you schedule some radio time, you're going to start your software and do it on the club webpage, see if it worked, and then have fun with it. So here's the club website. I've sent out emails on it. There's a link on the Groups IO page. So if you go to the Cowtown page and you go, well, I want to do some radio stuff. If you look up here along the icons or the tabs in the menu, got home, events, radio operations, club history, media, external links, about us. So radio operations, you've got club radio room, flex radio, satellite ops, digital ops, mesh network, remote radio information. Oh, that might be useful. Remote radio operations, that might be useful. Repeaters, live status. So 3 of those are involved with this remote system. If you go to remote radio information, that's kind of the documents, the data, the background, some instructions, that kind of thing. If you actually want to see, actually use it, we go to remote radio operations. And so first off, you can see right here, it says current status remote system. This is live information. It's updated roughly every 5 minutes based on the server running here at the clubhouse off what the schedule is. So you make an input in the schedule, it'll actually show you right here if somebody's using it. And I'm going to be able to demonstrate all that stuff. We go down, the next link down below, it says Cowtown Remote Radio System Scheduling. That might be useful. A couple links for instructions on the software, and that's really the RCForb software, and instruction on how to use a scheduling system. And that was written by Randy Thompson. So this is going to be a live demo, folks. So right now, the radios are essentially, they're off. It's not exactly true, but if we had everything wired up as it should be, all the radios would be off. So for this demo, I'm actually going to turn it all on. So I go to Cowtown Remote Radio System Scheduling, and you get this page. The top button sends you back to the website we're just at. If you don't have a login, you click on here for request radio access. So here you fill out information. If you don't have a login, fill out information. I tried to test if I could do this live, and I don't remember how the email, if it goes, eventually goes to me and Randy and Mark, but I don't know how long it takes for it to happen. But this is how you'd get access if you don't have a login. You put your stuff in there, you fill out, send an email, and we just add you. So now I go to schedule. All right. Never. All right. So I have two logins actually. One's for the admin and one's for me. But this is what you'll get when you log in normally. Your profile, you fill out if you want to add some stuff, but that just says this, whatever you put in on your email request, that's going to show up in your profile. So use a good email address is going to work for you, and use your call sign for your login. And that's how we will, know who's club members and that kind of thing. It's all part of the process. So, unlike Groups.io where we have random names, and on Zoom we have random names, this one is going to be by call sign. So I'm going to go to bookings. I'm going to book my radio time. So you can see right here, it automatically defaults to the current day, and ignore the formatting. You got to do with what you got to do. Check the date. So it's Thursday, so it goes from midnight to midnight. So 24 local time. Local time, unless the software changes, then it could be up to 3 hours off, depending, because it's British software, and we've had interesting times trying to get those time zones right. But always assume it's local time, and we'll go from there. If it ever doesn't show up, things don't log in right, it's probably something along those lines. And the beauty is you can log in anytime. So I can log in right now for 7 o'clock. So I'm going to book both radios so you can see what's happening with that. So I go to book. Now procedurally, we want you to book one at a time, but I'm just showing this for a demo. Also notice we have a couple sections down the bottom for the antennas. That will be part of the automation process, but right now it doesn't do anything, but we can see it. In fact, anybody who logs in, and I guess I could have showed you, but it doesn't make a difference. Anybody who logs in can see what's scheduled. So you can see right now, it shows my name and call sign and what I'm doing. And if you're going to use, you're doing some kind of contest, or you're testing an antenna frequency or something, you could put that in the comments, and this is going to show up like this. And like I said, it's a live thing. So as soon as it checks, it will update. And so this is now booked. As soon as you see it on there, it's booked. So let's go back here.
When you got the green check mark, it's available.
Yeah. So once you log in, you put your thing in there, it's booked. You can't erase somebody else's, but the admins can. You can erase your own. And everything happens, I say live, but really we only check it roughly every every couple minutes. So now, and I have this screen up because this is how you can see what's going on. So right now it says both those radios are idle, which means they're not being used. Mark's, we have Raspberry Pi running Mark's software, and every so often, maybe it's every minute, I can't remember what the schedule is, it will go up and it'll check that database to see if there's anything scheduled. If there is, then it's got a bunch of processes it goes through. And now we're still, I'm kind of going to cover this later on, but realize that this is still a building phase. We're still adding stuff and rolling stuff out. And so there's going to be a big, nothing's going to change for you guys. I'm just wasting time, but nothing's going to change for you guys, but there's a big change going to happen, in the bowels of the system. So we'll have more control of the antennas and everything else, and just a little more stable hardware. But that's if Mark, when Mark retires, that'll be his job. So
Mark retired.
Anything specific there?
just type, whatever.
Give me X.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
If Mark was retired, he'd be here right now. So I'm delaying because we're just watching this thing real time. And like I said, I don't know how often it updates. It'll update the radios first. It'll update this page we're looking at second. But the reason that we put this in here is, there you go. So now you can see that hopefully the screen updated for you guys. Can you see the whole mess of stuff? You don't need to read it, but if you can see a whole bunch of
Yeah,
stuff.
we can see that. We can see that S2 is in use.
Okay, so that's all comments because the Flex, there's two sides to it. So as soon, once we get the stuff up and running, we'll split them out. But this is all the stuff that it's doing right now, just to get it set up to use that RCForb software I was talking about. To use the Flex SmartSDR, it really only has to turn on the FlexRadio, but we don't have that set up yet. So it's set up right now just to run the RCForb software. And I'll leave it at that. If you want to use the SmartSDR software and the Flex and you know how to use it, then talk to me and we'll, you'll schedule it the same way, but because of how this server software works, we have to turn off the computer that's doing this job that is talking to you right now on the screen. We have to turn that off so you can have full access. It tends to take over the radio. The Flex is supposed to handle 2 people, but this server software completely takes over. So if you want to use the FlexRadio software, then the SmartSDR software will have to know manually. Now, future is that will be in when we create your account on the schedule. We will know who are the SmartSDR software users, and so it'll automatically have those servers turned off, and full access to both sides of the radio and all the slices. And for those that haven't used the Flex, I'm throwing out words that don't make any sense, but if you watch that video from a year or two ago, it'll make a little more sense. Again, I'm delaying a little bit of time because I want you to see the next set of screens where it says that they're in use, and it'll specifically say that I'm using them, at least hopefully. So the reason it does this is the way the software works. If the radio's off and you turn it back on, the software doesn't see it. So the cycle goes, it turns, it commands the PC to turn off. Okay. Oh, he changed it because it used to say in use by so-and-so. So it used to say in use by my call sign, but now that means both those radios are up and running. So this is the RCForb software, and I'm just going to demo how it works with this particular setup. I'm not teaching how to use it. I did a video on that, but because I'm here in the clubhouse, I have to use a local access to it. So this should log in, and I don't know if I have to. I'm turned up. Yeah. I don't know if you'll hear the audio. I'm not sure if that'll work, but just realize you can see on the screen that where it's at. And with this software, like I said, I already did the demo. You can just change the, you can change the bands just like that and dial the frequencies, either using the arrow keys or you want to spin the dial, you can spin the dial. So it's real simple to use. So that's why I kind of like it. And it's easy, especially for new hams. So I said, I like the other software because we can even have technicians use it. And even though they can't transmit in the bands, I can set up that software. So by call sign, you can't, transmit in certain bands. So it means we could have new hams listening to the entire spectrum, but they can only transmit in, if we have a 6-meter antenna, they can only transmit 6 meters or something like that. So that's the concept. So now I'm done with the radio, right? I'm tired of it. Be advised that, you can see that the schedule runs hourly basis. Eventually we'll have, maybe some tighter guidance. If we get a lot of people using it, tighter guidance on it. But right now, you want to book a few hours of it, knock yourself out. What we will be doing on Thursdays, we'll be blocking it out. So just because you can't use their mode and local at the same time. Well, I can add on more lines here. So I could have continuous 4-hour blocks or whatever I want, or I can just shut it all off. So if I'm done with what I'm doing, I can just cancel. and the same thing will happen. It will automatically, if there's nothing booked the next hour, I'll automatically shut everything down anyway. If there's something booked, it'll leave it up, or if we get to the antenna switching part, it will actually disable the radios for a bit while it switches antennas, stuff like that. But that'll all be invisible to the user. The important thing for you is that on the hour, if nobody's scheduled for the next time period, it will shut down. If I'm trying to think, there's some other caveat. I want to say if there's a 5-minute prior something. There's like either 5 prior or 5 after the hour. There's a blank period where it'll be transitioning between usage. So if you didn't have anything scheduled and you want to add something, you probably wouldn't. You may have to wait a little bit. But as you saw, what you see, that timing is pretty much anytime you schedule it, that's what it's going to do. Just realize if it's the 7 o'clock block you're scheduling and it's 5 till 8, it probably won't come on. It'll probably automatically look to the next block and go, well, there's nothing scheduled next time, so I'm staying off or turning it off.
Hey, Mike, can you hear
So
me?
yes,
I got a question to ask you.
shoot.
What if you get a member that just upgraded from technician to general or technician to extra, and you want to go onto the other portions of the band that they don't have access to? Will they be able to access it if they put /AG or
No,
AE?
it's not automatic. We put them in as particular users. If there's restrictions, we put it in there at the time.
Okay, so you're gonna have to wait until everything catches up before the admin or whoever the admins are to upgrade their amateur radio
Access,
license.
yes. So
Okay,
you see right now, it says the radios are idle. So not in use, they're idle. So nobody's using them. So just like that, it went and shut everything back down again. I think I don't know if the slides show the same stuff, but I'm going to go through them real quick. Yeah, so same stuff, right? Schedule radio access, request radio access, schedule operations. So going back to FlexRadio, like I said, these are the club's radios, so they're not mine to control. It's just the Flex. You can get lost in it and you really get frustrated. You shouldn't be able to hurt it the way we have it set up, but you can easily get frustrated because it just all of a sudden isn't what we work it. You won't have audio, you can't tune it, any number of things. And so that's why we'd like to have people just come and use it, get some experience, so you kind of have an idea of what should be working, what shouldn't be working. But you can easily get yourself in a hole. And I've been using it since we got it up and running in 2020, and I'm still getting baffled by something new every time. Just last week, I was trying to do something, and I was trying to get on the other computer in the radio room, and I couldn't get something to work, and it stumped me for about an hour before I figured out it's just one of those settings that was set wrong. So that's why I want people to get checked out, not because you want to keep it away from people, just because you can just get lost, easily lost. It does a ton of stuff, but it's challenging.
Okay, and
So-
when are we going to get with a club op member to find out how to operate it? The
Me.
6500
Me,
on club meeting night, or
yeah, preferably.
okay,
Or if you want to schedule some other time, if I'm available. I've
All right.
had like 4 or 5 people that have been practicing on it and learning it. And a few other guys could do it, but I can do it.
I bet Bill McCallum can do it too.
I don't know if he's quite checked out yet. Last time I talked to him, he still wasn't that comfortable in it, but Randy can. Mark and Philip, they can turn it on and off, but they're not comfortable with it either. So the RCForb, that's the one I demoed. And like I said, it's simple, it's dog simple. You can't go anywhere you don't belong because it's blocked out from like I said, by user. You can't go out of band. The flex you sort of can't go out of band, but if you flick enough switches, you can make it go out of band and not realize it. So that's why I kind of promote this. It's just simple, it works. And like I said, you don't have just access to our radios, you have access to worldwide radios, at least listening wise. So this is the future, and this is advanced stuff, and this is actually working up until this month. But so a VPN is essentially, it's a tunnel from your house over the internet to the clubhouse. So you have to have you log in some software, and you have secure channel all the way to the clubhouse. That keeps bad actors from getting into the thing and making a mess of stuff, because we don't want random people spinning the rotor. We just don't want it. So the only way to be able to spin the rotor is by VPNing in using the Node-RED. You don't need it right now because, like I said, it's down anyway. There's some more expansion possibly, as far as we're trying to figure out better ways to secure the system. But the way we have it now, because we control the power on it, even if somebody has, well, here's the problem with the SmartSDR software. Once you have the login information, you have full control of it. And there's only one login, so you can't separate out users. There's one login to the radio. So if it's on, then anybody in the world that has that login can access it. So we're trying to keep it close to the vest, trying to figure a way to protect it more, but we can't, other than through the schedule. So if it's not powered on, nobody else can access it. So if it is powered on because somebody scheduled it, now we know it's being scheduled usage. And if that user goes, hey, I'm having a problem with this, we can pull up deep data on it remotely and see if somebody else is also logged into it. So that's our protection on the Flex, is that we just control the power to it. The protection on the rotor controller is you have to have this VPN channel tunnel into it. And it hasn't been rolled out yet. That's one Sam McGuinn's been working on. So I'm not sure where it's at. This is a work in progress. Just in the last few months, we're working on this. What was the other thing? Probably something else. Oh, the antenna switches, like I said, we have the capability to switch them. We can't switch them automatically yet, but we can switch them manually if we have to. But the relays, when they're powered on, that's when the relay switches. And so the default setup is the way it is now. That's unpowered. So to change from default, they have to be powered on individually. And that's just, you don't want to leave stuff like that powered on. So that is kind of a future change. I guess if people desperately hate using the beam on the Flex, we could permanently change it over. But for right now, the beams on the beams on the Flex and the long wires on the 857. So if you want to go in there and play and you want to use 80 meters, you got to use that 857 remote in. For now, the future is to have it remote switched. What else do I have? So talk about software upgrades for the hardware. That's that scheduling thing I'm talking about that Mark's working on. Antenna switching and the VPN Node-RED. All right, that's my spiel. So I can go back to any point you want to talk about. I try not to go too fast, even though I'm always in a big hurry. I try to cover stuff in a way I thought that made sense, that we really haven't covered before. We've given kind of hints to do this, but everybody has a different level they're coming at it with. And obviously I've been deep into it forever, so I don't know what people don't know. So here's your chance to throw the arrows.
Okay, so here's one. You might have said it and I missed it, but is there an antenna switch in there so I can put the beam on the 857 or the long wire on the Flex, or the long wire on the 857 and the beam on the Flex?
Good question, and that's what's in, it's in the plan. We're waiting on Mark. And he has to add some relays for us to do it off the Pi. So to do it remotely, it's set up for that. We just don't have the Pi working to do it yet. We can manually do it.
Okay, so for now, how are they connected?
Like I said, the beam is on the Flex and the long wire is on the 857.
Okay.
Oh, to tag into that, part of the setup, and can I show it? I don't remember if I can access from here or not, but the part of the thing on the Pi that controls everything, there's actually an interface on the screen we can access. And so here's the other part of it. in the clubhouse, if you want to just use it, we'll have a screen that you can power stuff off and on and switch the antennas on a screen, because the same system is going to switch it, whether you're switching it remotely or locally. And that is because you have to know where things are. So you'll be able to click a button on the screen and switch the access. And the reason that's important is we have that 1000 there also. So right now we have two dummy loads, I guess. The one's always on the Flex because it has 2 antenna ports. And then the other one's switched out between the 1000 and the 857. So if you want to use the 1000 with either antenna, then the software Mark's working on, we would switch it that way. Here in the club, you click a button, and now you can turn on the 1000 and have either antenna available, and the Flex would get the other one. So, but it's not manually we can do it. I mean, I could physically switch them right now, but it's not set up automatically in the software yet. That's, like I said, that's some relays, and that's Mark's thing with the Pi. But that's the idea. And we could add a third antenna, HF antenna, if we needed to, and switch it also between the 3 radios. Can't go any further than that, but if we had a third one to add, we could switch that also.
Okay,
Does that
so
help?
next Thursday, can I bring my laptop in and you help me set up the VPN?
The VPN, it's not up and operating yet. But as far as you want to learn the FlexRadio, we can do that.
Well, don't I have to install something on my computer, didn't you say?
For the VPN, that's just to use the antenna rotor at this point, and it's down anyway.
Okay.
So Node-RED is software that runs on a bunch of different things, but allows you to do stuff. It's like an automation type software, and it's got stuff that works specifically for ham usage. So antenna controller, rotor controllers, antenna switches. It can read the FlexRadio detailed data in the background, bunch of stuff. Right now, it's being rolled out, but it's not on yet. So there's no need for the VPN part yet. It's kind of a test phase. But definitely come with your laptop to learn the FlexRadio. We can do that.
And right now I can go on the schedule and log into the 857, which supposedly I know how to use, and use it, right?
If you use that RCForb software, you can use it on both radios. So you can use both antennas. But if you want to use the SmartSDR software with all the bells and whistles and pretty pictures, that one we need a checkout for.
So I got to get the RC4 program.
Yep, it's all on that web page. Let me show you again. Share. Like I said, I've been eating and breathing this thing, so I don't know what people don't know. So there are no dumb questions. Just a dumb presenter. We have remote radio information, right? So it's got some instructions on how to use the that particular software. And also we have, remote radio information, remote radio operations. And down here you have, again, a scheduling system and instructions to use that software. I don't have a link to that software, but it's in the instructions on where to get it. But software-wise, you can install the software anytime, and you can look at a bunch of different radios on the internet. So it's the same software. We just have it special for us when you log into our radios. So here's the website, remotehams.com, and you can dig through, but all you need is go here to downloads. And this is in the instructions. I'll tell you how to get it. And just download the latest client. And if you just download that and run it, and that's kind of showing you have access to all these radios. So to use our club specific stuff, I'd have to talk you through adding that part of it. And it's not written down the instructions for obvious reasons. Also, on the groups IO page, we have a separate section just for remote radio operations. So if you want to get involved in there, it just keeps the conversation limited to those who have access and want access to the remote radio system versus the rest of groups IO, which is anybody in the world can join that. So that's a good way to get some detailed information, like what's the IP address and what are the login passwords and all that kind of stuff. We don't put that in the open internet. Like the only thing I didn't put the link to that remote hams on our website, but in the instructions in there, it's all in there. It tells you where to get it, how to install it, a bunch of stuff. Like I said, without our club stuff, you can use that same software. We just add something so that you can access our club. And really, the way they built the software, so you could have clubs in it. And so you'll see a lot of club radios on there that are only accessible by their club members, but they're advertised publicly. And we just decided to have one more layer of security by just not advertising our radio, because you can't access it anyway, so no sense advertising it. But there's a bunch of radios out there you can look at. You can just test, see if your software works. You can just go to these other radios and test them out and screensaver, test them out and try different things. The software is really pretty capable if you have good enough connection. And for those who have done digital stuff, I have done, using both those radios, I've done digital connections using that RCForb software for my house. So I'm using RCForb, you can't use a WinLink, but you can use FLDigi or WJSTX, both of those with the RCForb software. Now, the setup is a little bit complex, but not a whole lot more complex than setting up any other radio with the digital modes. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to hang this thing up.
Hang it up.
All right, see y'all later.